Okay, my name is Perry Holderness.
I'm Tanya Salazar.
And I am Carmelite Diashist.
And we just watched Greening the Ghetto.
Which is really awesome. So by, what was her name? Majora Carter. And, okay, so we're just like discussing what she talked about.
Yeah.
She talked about a lot of things. But mostly, I guess, it sounds like she came up with a plan. She grew up in the Bronx, which was like a bad part of the neighborhood or whatever. But I guess she got an education and then she came back and was trying to help her neighborhood.
Yeah.
She's come up with like an eco-friendly solution to prevent pollution and like a lot of waste and landfills and stuff in the Bronx area, and just make it a cleaner environment because there's already a lot of waste and lack of resources for people in the Bronx. So she just came up with a plan for that, and she's already gotten a grant and talked with Al Gore, so she's working towards that, so it's pretty cool.
I think one of the things that stood out to me in the video was when she said, you know, one that kind of like touched me a lot was the story of her brother. She said he served in a war, and then he came home and was gunned down on their street. And it just kind of isn't it? It kind of proves some of the things that we learn in class, you know. But sometimes we are kind of, there's that selective discrimination. That's the term for it. Selective. Discrimination, I think that's what it was, and it's kind of like, yeah, he can go serve a war, but we're going to do very little to help out the crime rates and
In his own neighborhood.
in your own neighborhood, like in your own street in the U.S. But please go fight for us, you know. So it's kind of like that stood out to me, and you know, you could tell by her emotions that stood out to her, and anyway, so that story is what stood out to me the most in the video.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting, as part of that story that she told about her brother, she talked about how she's not that much different than the white majority. She got an education, she finished high school, she went to college, she wasn't on drugs, she didn't become a teen mom, those kind of things, but she's very different in the fact that she grew up in a place that wasn't safe, and there was, what was it, a drug shop or something across the street.
Crack house.
Crack
Crack house across the street from her, and her brother got gunned down, and just horrible things that had happened to her growing up that set her apart from the rest of us, even though she's very similar demographically.
And you can tell she's very similar. You can tell just from the way she was talking, but I really like that because I've heard so many of these talks before on television or on the computer, you know, like, oh, we should do this, and we should start a group, or the groups get started and they kind of die out and nothing happens. But the fact that she really pushed it so that she could get the help that she needed, and the fact that her dog was her motivation, I guess, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But how she came up with this plan, like I said before, and they were able to, I guess, restore this park or something. Like they made it really, they made it really nice. And they connected the park to another part of the Bronx, I think she mentioned. But, and she really knew her stuff. She compared it to Katrina in the Ninth Ward in New Orleans. She compared it to that, and then she compared like the results, like what could happen to a city in Colombia.
Right.
You know, and this was a third world country with things similar to the Bronx, like gun violence and drugs and different things like that. But how even somewhere not in the U.S., like they did something about it, and it's very possible in America. So
Yeah.
It's true.
Another thing that kind of stood out to me was she talked about how the Bronx was kind of in the center of Manhattan and Westchester. And, you know, Manhattan and Westchester, you know, there's a lot of, there's the white people, you know, and then you have the Bronx, which is a lot of minorities. And when there was that housing project or new construction that was going on, of course, you know, most of the people who were kicked out of the home were 60,000, she said, African Americans. And it's like, why did you kick out the people in Manhattan? Or why did you kick out the people in Westchester? Why did you kick out the people in the Bronx? You know, so it's like,
all displaced.
They were all displaced, and it's like, why did
less than a month before.
why did you kick out the minorities? You know, so it's kind of like just goes to show that there is a lot of discrimination that goes on, and you know, the fact that she said that just kind of proves that you tend to group together with your own kind. You know, we've been learning a lot about that in class, that we're comfortable with the people who look like us and who act like us, and you know, we kind of tend to do that to ourselves, and you know, a lot of what she's saying proves a lot of what we've been learning in class. So,
It's true.
It's so true, and I feel like I've met so many people too, like in my life, that generally I feel like people care about the same things, like family. You know what I mean? Like we're human, and we want the best for ourselves and our family. So it's true. I feel like we have a lot more things similar than different if we really look for it. But
I agree. I think we've come a long way, but there's still a long way to go. So
yeah.
She was a good example of how
where we're
things
at
could still improve. Yeah.
Exactly. A ton of improvement, but there's so much more that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Right.
And these things, they do take time. It doesn't happen overnight, of course, but just for people to I forgot what I was saying. Anyways, yeah,
But yeah.
I forgot what I was saying.
There's still a lot of work to be done, and people have to fight for it and come together and organize it.
And she was smart too. She
It's
like
really smart.
she captured the attention of the right people to start out with. Al Gore, like seriously, like how did she do that? Like that was, wow, that's amazing.
So yeah,
She used
very
her
good
resources.
video.
All right. Thanks.